sambung tadi kan, because I nak tahu sebenarnya message yang korang nak sampaikan tu apa? Tu nombor satu. I've seen like the warning signs before at the beginning of the episodes and all that. But what exactly do you want to tell the audiences? And tu satu. Nombor dua ialah, what was the most surprising thing that, you know, that came up from Projek High Council that you guys did not expect to happen but like happened because of it?
Right. I'll go first. Okay, so when it comes to series and writing for series, one of the most important things is you decide what do you want to talk about, and we call that as theme. So that will be the consistent thing throughout the whole series. And for me, I'm very moved to talk about what does it actually mean to be a man. So, but when you're in this kind of school, and I was, that gets repeated a lot. Macam anak jantan. What does that mean? And of course, there's a very traditional or universally accepted, maybe universally accepted version of what it means to be a man. Is that you need to be tough, you don't cry, you just take everything. But I wholeheartedly disagree with that. That's why we made very deliberate choices to introduce character macam Firdaus, bapa pernah Naim Fakri, Ayam, Azam. They're like that. But does it mean they're less of a man? I would say no. I would say that like if you have a critical eye, you would see that Ayam is the most sensible out of ni. He does fall into his temptations of tiba-tiba he starts to enjoy the violence apa semua, but he snaps back really quickly, right? And yeah, to me it was that. Number satu is, I guess, because it was a question that sometimes when you go into a writer's room, when you go into writing something, you have a question and you expect to answer it. And usually sebenarnya you kind of get an answer because it's very straightforward kan. Contoh macam, is crime worth it? Then at the end of the film, you say no. But with a question like, what does it mean to be a man? We kind of expected that we won't really get to a tangible answer. And that was the main lah. The main reason is to get the audience to question that along with us. Yeah, what does it mean to be a man? In terms of response, yang paling mengejutkan is it correlates to what I cakap tadi. Turns out lagi banyak penonton wanita. Yeah, that was very surprising to me lah.
Though again, what it means to be a man, not just a man as in a lelaki, what it means to be a man as in people, right? Human, technically. So you see a lot in High Council, there are a few things that it doesn't require you to be lelaki to even understand the struggle, to even understand the trauma of being bullied or being looked down to, or in such cases macam dalam episode 6 where someone actually kena, I don't know whether I can say it. Boleh kena, dalam kita guna perkataan kena turun lah sudah kata kan. And even when in writer's room, Anwari mentioned in writer's room, we actually, it's like a bunch of people, right, writers, we borak pasal what we went through. So in episode 6, and surprisingly, some of us actually share things that we went through growing up, and how we never really spoke about it because it's in our tradition, really, right? It's not apa you baca kat sekolah aja. Also, it's how parents, bila anak tanya banyak, you cakap anak tu degil. No, jangan tanya banyak, degil. Tak dengar cakap I. But no, actually when kids are curious, we just need to find a better way to answer them, because if we don't know, that doesn't mean we tell them to diam. We should figure it out how. Kan? For example, in episode 6, ada a case where budak-budak in asrama, Masa Anwar cerita that memang betul budak-budak ni kena being treated, kena liwat and stuff like that. And benda-benda tu, it's relatable. You don't have to be budak asrama to even know that, because unfortunately there are so many of us kat luar sana who are not being treated right growing up, you know, in their early years growing up, budak ke, teenager ke, but we're too scared to say anything. So when we're in writer's room and this stuff being brought up, mula kita nak try avoid tau, because I mean we work in astro. There's just some things that we know that macam ni bahaya. So we couldn't avoid it. We couldn't avoid it because it's too loud lah. It's something that we have to say. And by the end of the day, these are the things that makes the story so relatable, like you mentioned, for people out there who tak pergi sekolah asrama pun. Not just for men, but just perempuan pun boleh relate to that. So yeah, I think that was our main agenda tu kenapa we touch into such stories and some topics maybe berat tapi tak boleh avoid. Yeah.
Actually, I want to add on apa Ika cakap. But she was talking very specifically to macam sexual assault victims and they're too afraid to say anything, right? So when you're too afraid to say anything, you don't get to solutions. You don't get to discussions that will lead to solutions, right? So in a nutshell, I understand some people took it the wrong way, Projek High Council, apa semua kan. But that was my main intention. If you're too afraid to say anything, right, how are we even having this discussion? And then how are we going to talk about solutions? So I guess, unfortunately, there will be certain side effects, right, that we don't want, that we never intend to happen because we have no control over the variables of how people will react. Tapi the fact that we're talking about it is actually, daripada projek Anchor SPM lagi, the whole project Anchor SPM was about cheating dalam SPM. It was about that. It's about opening up conversations. Because we as a culture, kita ada this tendency untuk macam if we don't talk about it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. So that is the opposite of productive. I think we talk about it, we show the ugly sides, and then look at us, we're talking right now.
Basically, we're telling everyone to jibam.
Yes. Sebenarnya one of the smartest character left in episode 2. That's why he left. Sebab he's smarter than everyone else.
Daniel as well, the guy who basically bagi tahu the teachers kan that he was being treated wrong and stuff like that. So dia pun jibam. So by the end of the day, you actually see what happened when he voiced it out to someone who can, voice it out to teachers, for example. And how Kaha was then. Alah, I tak nak spoiler macam mana ni.
Dah spoil dah.
Oh, dah spoil dah. So dia Kaha kena be taken action lah kan. Tapi of course we have to bring Kaha back. So benda-benda macam tu lah. So macam we're telling people to tolonglah jibam sebenarnya. Yeah.
I tak faham dua benda je. Kenapa the whole thing tu go under the title bully tau. Sebab I tak nampak bully actually. So but everywhere semua kata yang tak tengok akan cakap bully.
Oh ya, betul-betul.
So itu I tak berapa faham. Where is the bully?
Sebenarnya, yeah. I mean, if I can be totally honest, I've been tolerating people calling it bully. Even macam reporters cakap macam pasal kes bully. Because no, it's not. There's bullying, which sounds very personal. And then there's systematic hazing, where it's passed down tradition to tradition. Fully doesn't quite capture it.
It's very reductive.
It's very reductive. It's very dismissive even. Macam you call it case bully kan, you're not seeing the gravity of it. Yeah.
So, Syed Azmi, I wanted to ask you, sebab kita cakap pasal macam the liwat scene in the show and all that. This is clearly something that happens in real life as well. Macam untuk you lah, kenapa budak selalu tak nak cerita?
Well, apa tu liwat as in the process of itself kan. Kalau dia bukan consensual, okay, ni yang susah nak cakap lah kat sini. Jadi dia punya degrading of a person tu dia lebih. And dia ada macam-macam. In children, kalau kita tanya dia liwat kenapa dia malu, is because dia kata tempat tu where dia keluar tai, tempat tu tempat yang najis, and they would understand. So that's why dia orang tak berani nak cakap. And kalau dia cakap pun kan, dia punya cara a boy nak cerita, sometimes ada orang dengar, if you have a third person, dia cerita macam dia shock je ni. Oh, that was the hardest. Dia nak cerita yang betul. But bila dia buat detail, oh, ni Syah suka je ni. That's the part yang siapa nak. So, bila nak kata kena liwat, tak faham ke? But people want to know macam mana boleh kena benda tu kat belakang. Kenapa tak tendang je? Kenapa tak cepat? People are only thinking about that. But I think the series has showed very well dia punya takut tu. And dia punya takut tu amat berasas. Because tak ada orang dengan dia and all that. So why children tak nak cakap is because benda tu, the degrading especially for boys. And if you masuk a prestigious school, you masuk je orang buat kenduri. You dapat masuk sekolah je orang buat kenduri. Takkan you nak kena keluar because of that. So faham tak why I rasa benda tu bila dia jadi macam tu. Any case yang datang dekat I for things like that, I totally understand. I tak tanya je. You cakap liwat, I believe you and that's all. If tak liwat pun, katalah it's just oral sex pun. Oh my God, oral sex for boys is, some kata lagi teruk daripada liwat actually. It depends on how they actually see it. Some kata lagi teruk daripada liwat. These are boys. So I think and the reason are the same.
So how does the show help or make it worse?
Actually it helped because ramai orang dah pergi to professionals to actually say that it happened to me, and the ones yang traumatized umur dah 20, 30, 40 pun dah mula datang balik because it's open up. So itu mungkin yang tak berapa best. Tapi but I think even though the show tak cakap macam if you have ni please consult professional blah 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 kan. But people know that they're not alone. I think that's the best. Dia kata, hey, you're not alone. You're not alone. Ramai yang dah go through to you and ramai can live with it. Honestly, I know that orang lagi kesian and towards girls yang kena sexual assault ke apa-apa. But honestly, bila I tengok the boys, I rasa, and when they become fathers, I memang rasa lagi tu because they don't have a safe space to talk about it.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I feel both men and women in this scenario, they have a hard time. I think for women specifically who are like rape victims, we still have purity culture. They're still like seen as dirty and things like that. I really disagree with the part where you say like even for a second they're gonna feel some pleasure because that whole process is really painful. Even guys, they have a G-spot like in their prostate. So like so that part I don't necessarily agree, but I do agree with the fact that this is opening up a conversation that it's if you are a student in a boarding school who has experiences, then you have like you can talk about it. But unfortunately, I feel like the problem. So a friend of a friend, my friend, experienced this while he was in school, and like the experience, like the thought process of like how to report it, how to have conversations like this was insanely difficult. He wasn't ashamed, like not necessarily ashamed of like what has happened. It is a clear-cut case that this is what happened. But it's the same as like rape cases where like, okay, maybe I was like inviting this person to do it. Like maybe it is my fault. The victim blaming is still a thing, and then like the part, and then like I tried to, with his permission, to like consult someone else on it, and they were saying like, oh, we could like help you get this, but the problem is, will they notify the parents? And then after like they notify the parents, and then what? There's a possibility like this person will get disowned, or like if you go to the counselor in my school. I like him as a person, but he's a lousy counselor. I'm so sorry if anyone shares this with him. But he's not necessarily good at counseling. And that is a systemic problem that we have not invested in enough in education to have like, to be able to verbalize that and like have the language to talk about it, especially people who are like more BM oriented. It's harder to have those conversations because the language itself has not been invented. It's very like westernized, and it's very like, English is the primary language you want to talk about mental health, you want to talk about anything regarding sexual assault and that kind of thing. So until this, yes, we are getting to a point where we are starting to talk about this, but we have to have a conversation about how are we going to talk about this. As like you guys as parents, as me as future parent, are we going to create an environment where our children are feeling safe? Because I feel even if they report this, their parents are going to like end up doing something to them. Like they're gonna blame it to them.
To me kan, I kadang-kadang rasa macam, you know what, daripada nak tunggu, macam Ariff cakap tadi, a system where you get educated and you can do all that kan, kadang-kadang lambat. But it's okay because it's a program. Malaysia is at a learning curve every time. If we don't embrace that, susah jugalah. Or if it's too advanced, kadang-kadang tak sampai. Right? So I know that the kids, bila dia cakap benda-benda macam ni and they actually try to help their victim friends kan, in the end kan, they are just soldiering on with that. And you have to remember the reason why I say all this, and it's okay to disagree because kita ni sistem memang tak complete lagi pun. Most victim, bila victim buat report and kata libatkan polis, the victim duduk tepi. Everybody focus nak tangkap culprit, masuk jail. Bila masuk jail, settle. But that's not settle. Macam, it's not settle. So that is the reason why I said the way I said it, like, don't go near it because that system to settle the victim is not there. Because your job is just tell the truth and then masuk jail and then okay dah lah, forget about it. Then what? So maybe that's the point why I cakap macam tu lah. But I understand, I totally respect on our differences on that. Thanks.
I know, I agree on that also. Solidarity is important.
Thoughts from hearing all of this?
No, I really like what Ariff, right? Yeah, Ariff said about there's no language. There's no language when it comes to BM, and not just about sexual assault though. not just about semua. There's no language. Basically, conversations that are being had in English from 20 years ago still belum ada bahasa dia, or no representation at least in bahasa Melayu. To be fair kan, for example, you cakap right after the episode, more people are coming out kan. I like to believe it has a lot to do with the language it's now being depicted on. Sebab sebelum ni macam tak benar. They even see content on Netflix talking about the same thing. But there's something about language, or something about bahasa Melayu, bahasa kita, yang you dengar dalam bahasa kita, and it's immediately it's grounded to you as a person, and immediately it's relatable. Yeah, so that is yang paling interesting to listen to lah, that bahasa tu.
Okay, so my next question is to Zulaikha actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Zulaikha, I want to know if you learned anything new about boys. Just being like, you didn't expect, oh ni ke lelaki macam tu ah. Ni ke budak lelaki. This is what you're thinking about.
So for me, benda yang paling I belajar throughout High Council, just being a part of the project, is the fact that men they want to be heard. Right, so it's different. I think it's a global thing where women are given this voice, which is great, right? But men really want to be heard, and the idea of men don't cry ni sebenarnya, because I grew up in a very Melayu juga lah, in a way, my family upbringing kan. My dad, he's a police. He basically, I've never seen him cry ever till when he was about to pass away. The last time I met him, it was his birthday. That was the first time I tengok dia nangis. Probably the last time I tengok dia nangis. And to me, I felt that me being there as a third person lah sebenarnya, I felt what can I do to make it not easier? Well, at least when a person or a guy come and talk to me, how will I react? Should I react macam, kau jantan, kau boleh settle kot. Kalau aku perempuan, kau boleh settle. Why can't you, right? Maybe I shouldn't act that way, because I have to admit, I used to act that way. I used to act in a way, if I can handle it, that's my problem, my throughout problem, not just to men and just females juga. If I can handle it, why can't you? But what I learned in High Council is that no, really, when these people bring it up to you and want to talk to you, they're not asking you to give a solution, in fact. They want you just to listen to them. And to me, I think it's very important as a female and as a female director. We don't look at, yes, you want to be empowered, it's female empowering, which is great. Tapi technically, us as female, we have this power to juga be very comforting, right? So that's why I think when you have your kawan lelaki or your boyfriend, your husband or whatever datang kat you and cerita, sometimes you just don't really have to give an answer. And that's why even in High Council, we don't really have an answer what it means to be a man. We failed to answer it. Sebenarnya, we couldn't answer it. I guess what we could do is support each other. And as women, it's understand that lelaki pun want to be heard. They have their needs. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not be the strongest, the most stable one in the family. It's okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to preach, but that's basically what I learned, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first episode myself. Aku wanted to say bye to the dad, and like he kept repeating, jangan nangis, jangan nangis. And I'm like, nangis je lah, weh, nangis je lah.
If anything, right, that is me. I ada this perangai.
I ingat dia budak kantin tu. Kakak kantin.
Tu pun ya juga tu. You know, tapi I memang ada this thing where kalau I nak nangis, I tahan. So sebenarnya in High Council, I belajar to menangis. So I think Anwari, on set, this is what he did. We did this shoot scene sedih. Kalau selagi dia tak nangis, it's not going to work out. Now I have this problem to cry, right? I have this problem crying. And because senang kata, I was not raised in like super happy rainbow punya family. You weren't either.
Yeah.
So,
it's called character progress, character development.
Yeah, I tahu. So this is where I learned throughout the project pula. I juga personally nangis. Okay, I learned that sebenarnya I can also cry. I don't have to be the strongest one in the room, you know. So masa shoot scene sedih ni, Anwari dah nangis macam aku tak nangis lagi, there's something wrong with me. So sebenarnya kalau kita orang tengah edit, kalau selagi Ika tak nangis, I tak nangis, Meaning, okay, ni boleh goreng lagi ni. We can do more because that's the thing. I think I have tapped into this trauma of mine. I felt like, yeah, I don't have to be the strongest one in the room. And I think I learned how to cry too though.
But we do know that crying doesn't mean yang bukan orang tu tak strong.
Betul.
Vulnerability is power. This
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Kejap, Ariff, you cry tak? Because you nak semua orang mati.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. Yeah,
You
but
can say that, right?
no, I have the same problem as you. Like, because I see myself as like the mediator for everyone. Like, I have to be there. Like, if
The
someone's
calm
crying,
one.
yeah, I have to be the calm, rational one.
Right.
So like, it's not that necessarily I have like pent up emotions. I cry, and when I cry, you cannot stop me. Like, lock the door.
That is so
shut
true. When you
everything
cry,
down.
you can really cry.
Yeah. Like I am a good crier, but there are times for it. You know.
Okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. Dalam bahasa Melayu yang paling simple sekali, tolong explain kepada pendengar kita apa itu toxic masculinity.
Oh my god.
Bahasa Melayu.
Ya.
Dalam bahasa Melayu.
Ya, dalam bahasa Melayu.
I'll do even one better.
Okay.
Dalam budaya Melayu.
Okay, silakan.
Dalam budaya Melayu, toxic masculinity tu adalah apa yang diajar tentang apa itu lelaki dalam budaya Melayu. Itu pendapat saya.
Apakah itu?
The whole thing. Macam dalam bahasa Melayu. Tak faham tak? Faham tak? What I'm addressing here, dalam budaya Melayu itu sendiri, budaya Melayu itu sendiri, apa yang dikatakan, okay, kau anak jantan, kau kena bam. 80% salah. Itu my personal opinion. Yeah. Sebab bila termasuk anak jantan tak nangis, anak jantan tak show emotions, anak jantan, for example, membesarkan anak jantan is tough love and tough love only. I am a believer of tough love, but I am also a believer of it being supplemented with affection. Yeah, so sebenarnya banyak benda. So kalau nak masuk situ, saya takut nanti dia macam, no lah, I have very strong opinions for it lah.
Yeah.
On the way here, I tersalah jalan and then lalu depan di BKL, and then waktu tu ada abang-abang di BKL, and then ayat dia ni tak gentle lah kalau tak pandai jaga bini dengan skandal. That's also toxic masculinity. You know, that's also one of it. Yeah, I dengar gelak ni. You know, but that's one of it. And it's not only yang dulu punya budaya saja yang dia terapkan atau kita dengar. Baru-baru pun akan datang, dia akan buat juga. Dia akan teruskan juga benda-benda macam tu.
And like the toxic masculinity thing, dia macam also a part of, I don't remember siapa yang cakap earlier, where like at the end of the day, men want to be heard. This whole toxic, like, you know, Andrew Tate and like all the sexist, misogynist like podcasters, like these men, right? Macam at the end of the day, they just want to be heard. As terrible as their opinions are, that is like their end goal. They want to be heard. And the people, these young men, like fragile, like very plastic brain lagi, very moldable brain lagi, they don't know where to like look, like find a role model, and they're looking at these people macam, oh, okay, this is the definition of masculinity that I see macam Superman and that kind of thing, but this is in real life, so I can look up to them and like that kind of thing. Another thing that I liked in the show is the fact that when I don't remember the character's name anymore, the father of the main character and the mother of the main character were still in the family. It's rare that you see like in television like positive and negative representation of like how the mother can be the sole breadwinner of the family, and it's usually the father, mother duduk kat rumah, and nanti kadang-kadang mak yang salah, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
No, sebenarnya sama sebab so a lot of people is taking that lah macam okay, mak dia salah. No, actually the way we see that family breaking down is actually society punya expectation. Society punya expectation that lelaki, okay betul, it's tanggungjawab, right? Tapi circumstances juga lah kan. And this is a man that has been failing to find a job, to provide. Tapi it doesn't mean he's less of a man. And expectation, the wife yang, okay now I'm the breadwinner, you're the man. Which betul kalau ikut tanggungjawab ni, tapi there's no compromise sebab society cakap kat dia orang, tak, lelaki is the breadwinner, perempuan ni. So we're also talking about just in general lah. So that is a situation yang where the marriage doesn't work out, but we're talking about probably even marriages sekarang kan. Like it's still a situation where men would still prefer a spouse that is of higher of lower income capacity, sebab that hurts their ego, and ego tu datang di mana? Expectations, society punya expectations apa semua, and I see a lot of things that is very wrong about that.
So do you think kan macam we have this kind of culture, high council culture in school among the boys school lah. It's because boys are filling up the stereotypes without parental guidance. Like, who am I? I'm just gonna, meet the masyarakat punya expectations of me as a man. Is that why then this cult can come about, or this high council can come about? Because like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I wouldn't have thought about this. But is it because we have such expectations of men to be anak jantan that when you are left on your own, you fill up the expectations of society?
Like the teachers, they are perpetuating in the sense that how they are talking about guys punya emotions, like how guys are supposed to act. If they are like a bit soft, if they like have XYZ like inclinations, like the way they express themselves, then like, or they are labeled X or they are labeled Y. And then coupled with the traditions that schools have, even stupid traditions like high councils, they're just like makes them want to go more and more. And then like if you enter sports also, like how their coaches talk, that is still like a field where we haven't had that conversation. Which like that's why I found shows like Ted Lasso very refreshing, because they had
I want
this
to add
conversation.
to answer to what you said. I want to add to something that you said before. You said there are these people, basically they are looking for validation and the way I see it, the word is they're looking to create value for themselves. And as a society, where we assign these values to needs to be rethink lah. Sebab contohnya sports, selalunya geng-geng yang jahat-jahat ni dah sekolah sama ambil bia. And usually and this is it's not even unique to Malaysia. And we see all representations kat America. Oh, high school quarterback biggest asshole apa semua kan, because that's where we assign value to. And in a way we also assign value to being this dominant alpha male, right? So that is what we need to really think about lah, where we assign value as a culture. So I would say how our culture assign value in the end, although it's not that straightforward of a connection, it trickles down, it creates to this kind of situation. Betul, it's in a microcosm of a school, tapi dia datang dari mana?
Yeah. Because I'm also thinking macam what Zulaikha mentioned just now, macam dia pun pernah cakap to a man like, kalau aku boleh handle ni, kenapa kau tak boleh handle?
Pernah cakap kat I benda tu.
You know, like kadang-kadang kita enablers. Kita enablers because we live in this kind of society community. Like I remember when I was teaching dekat sekolah dulu kan. Kalau kelas tu kelas yang challenging I will immediately focus on the boys and will leave the girls alone. Right. I will immediately focus on the boys. And then kalau girls buat bising, wah, marah gila. I akan cakap, because I expect them to be docile and quiet.
Yeah.
Betul.
So you masuk je kelas, terus the boys will get all my attention because I tahu korang semua nakal. Kalau I tak address, girls buat pasal je memang kena lah.
I think that it's also very relatable to how moms and their daughters are as well. They are harder to their daughters because they expect them to be better. Don't repeat the same mistake as they do, But I remember this. When I got pregnant and I tak tahu lagi janda anak I masa tu, I was like, oh my god, tolonglah jangan perempuan. I takut.
Wait, sama dong Zulaikha.
Takut, okay?
Tolong jangan.
I don't know how to handle. I don't even know. So when I found out, oh thank God anak lelaki. I was like, oh okay, thank God anak lelaki. Maybe I know how to handle. Tapi sebenarnya I rasa bila I buat high council, I was like, oh man, this is a whole different beast. I have to learn, man. Talking to girls, maybe I know how to do that. But man, like boys, raising boys, right? How do I make... One, I don't know how to be. I don't know how to be this very comforting person lah, senang kata. I tried, tak tahulah jadi ke tak. Tapi now I'm in this position. I'm the mother, right? I am supposed to be this comforting, good listener. And I think to perempuan, right? Kalau anak perempuan, maybe I know how to do that because my mom, she tried, not really, but okay lah, Tapi to boys, how do I do that as a mother? I don't know how to do that really. Like to a friend, I can say all those things macam I cakap kat Anwari. If I cakap tu kat anak I confirm takkan cerita apa-apa dekat I dah. Confirm. So it is forcing me to also reevaluate my approach to how I handle such situation. Sebab kalau tak, sebenarnya benda tu being a mom ajar I benda tu, and also in high council pun ajar I macam mana okay, I kena reevaluate lah balik kan, macam mana kalau tak ke mana lah kan.
Yeah, allow them to express their emotions.
Exactly.
Orang lain akan cakap jangan nangis. Lah lelaki kan.
But you know what, I rasa juga kan, kalau lah kita cakap atau tercakap atau orang lain cakap dekat anak kita jangan nangis, tak boleh nangis, semua macam tu kan, it still depend, they still boleh grow. Okay, itu satu lah. They can still survive. For us, bila anak tu dah mula lari daripada kita as parents kan, to parents kan, I always cakap the remedy satu je. Kalau anak you berbual lagi banyak dekat you, you know you successful. Yes. Itu je. Betul. You kena test tu je. So however you want to say, boys don't cry ke apa macam tu ke apa kan, it actually depend on how they will think about it, because then they will still have process. They will be like him. Exactly. Dia akan mula fikir semua macam tu, and they will come back. So most parents selalu rasa they are failures. Antara kita orang punya treatment and therapy that we used to do is, berapa banyak anak tu borak dengan kau. Kalau dia cakap banyak lagi, maknanya you are fine. Nombor dua, when you say you banyak bagi nasihat, have you ever thought that the nasihat, is it nasihat or nagging? It's two different thing. Betul kan? So then that's
clear lines now.
But because High Council tu, it's so focused, so every word tu plays a role. And that's one thing why kakak senang cakap macam tu je daripada run around the bush. That's one thing why I suka, because dia memang detail tu. Which is true. And sometimes I rasa, walaupun I kadang-kadang rasa kenapa cerita Melayu ni banyak jerit-jerit kan, I tak boleh terima lah most of the time. But I think that's the only way yang some people know how to be direct. Dia tak pandai nak pusing-pusing and all that, you know. So that's why I rasa in the end I cuba nangis one scene. Bapa alumni jahat tu, ya Allah, itu memang syaitan rajim sangat lah, dia ketua alumni tu. So itu memang macam,
he's a great actor.
Bagus lah. So kira dia berjaya.
Betul.
Itu je bila anak dia actually ajar dia balik. And that's the part that I say, see, communication. And anak dia still nak cakap dengan dia. So that is successful. That's how we actually use it bila orang kata tu jahat. Sebab sebenarnya I don't think they have a main character in this thing. Sebenarnya everybody you we try to, kan, tapi sebenarnya tak ada. That's the question of most of my doctors tanya, so siapa main character dia? It's not about that, it's about the issue per episode, cukup lah. So but it's all about that communication, I think lah. So I want the listeners to rest assured, especially to parents and young parents, as long as anak you banyak borak lagi dengan you, umur 40 pun still banyak borak dengan you have done well. So tu je.